Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Big King S.2 hollering at you one more again. Ah, worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. That's right, folks. Come on in. We're making some changes in season number 2 as we get things going here. We're trying to get this simulcast for the Rumble channel as well, right? And we're going to move it. Come on in, folks. I see you. Hey, we got a lot to talk about today, family. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Big King S.2. I love you all. I welcome you. Keep coming on, chiming on in here. And let's do this. All right. All right. Okay. Apologies to any of my folks on Rumble. We're going to get this squared away. We're going to make sure that every week we're going to be simulcasting. Had some weird little technical difficulties today, but that's all right. We here and we fit in the bill. Worldwide movement. Keep on chiming in, folks. Okay, Sean, I see you, bro. Thank you, man. Worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. That's right, family. True indeed. Thank you for chiming in. You dig? And man, I'm just so excited to get this forum going again. We have a magnificent subject matter, right? I don't know how many of you had a chance to view the announcement videos, particularly the one that talked about the subject matter for today. But it is indeed a profound one, and we're gonna have this conversation and dig right into some deep stuff. All right, everybody. I'm gonna let a couple of more folks chime in or clock in, or however we want to look at it or call it. True indeed, true indeed. As we begin another magnificent conversation, man, I'm so excited for this season. As I am excited for this entire year, 2025, just like I said it was, is going to be a powerful year indeed. Already off to a magnificent start. In my estimation, folks, y'all got to understand, I'm all about paradigm shift. So when I see big changes going on and things getting shaken up and stirred up, that gets me riled up, right? Now I know that there are a lot of things that folks may not feel aligned with in terms of a political nature. This is not about politics, folks. That's just part of the scope that we encapsulate. But we are a nonpartisan program here. We don't pick Democrats or Republicans or independents or anybody. We will mention things that they do. As of course, all these things are pertinent to what goes on in our everyday lives, but we're not choosing sides, right? Our side is the people. Okay. If that has ever been unclear, know that it is clear. Our side is to be on the side of the people, right? Okay. Just a few more seconds for some folks to chime in on both platforms, YouTube and Rumble. And there we go. All right. I'm going to check just one thing, and then we're going to dive right into it, folks. As again, I apologize. We want to make sure we get the whole audience in here, and we are now starting to simulcast on both Rumble and on YouTube. So we building a little bit. We growing. You did all right. Okay, so folks are in place, and we're going to start talking about this. All right. For anyone who did not already preface the subject matter for today's conversation, two very major happenings and uh, changes or things that are being established right now. And that is number one, there is a new congressional task force that is being formed, that has been formed and is now in operation, headed up, I believe, by Senator Maria Luna and Tom Daschle and some other folks. Rubio, I think, is in there. Please forgive me if I'm getting any of the names wrong, but to make sure you have all the correct information, just simply go to my YouTube channel and you'll see in the post, I have actually given you the video, the actual video where you can see those folks talking about this new congressional task force that they have formed. It is extremely and incredibly significant. Okay. One, it goes and sort of rides on the coattails or immediately follows the executive order issued by President Trump regarding declassifying, folks. Finally, the files, the complete official files on the assassination of President Kennedy, the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, all of the files relating to and regarding UFO, UAP phenomenon, which is actually not phenomenon. That's not really the best way to address it. But UFO, UAP, and USO, right? Unidentified submersible objects. A lot of these craft are going in and out of the waters, meaning major bodies, oceans, lakes, streams, seas, etc. So that's the one happening. Word, life, God, science. Thank you for coming in, brother. Please stay with us and build. We're talking about, again, this new, I'm giving a little bit of a description about this congressional task force that has been formed on ending secrecy to the American public, right? And it rides on the coattails of all of these documents being declassified by executive order. The documents regarding the assassination of President Kennedy, documents regarding the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, documents regarding all the information on UFO, UAP, and also USO, unidentified submersible objects going in and out of major bodies of water. All those documents are being declassified, pardon me. And those are all areas that this task force will be venturing into in terms of what secrets there are that have been for more than decades, right? For centuries and perhaps longer, kept from the American public and in fact the world, right? They're going to be going in so deep into secrecy that honestly, folks, we have to say this does not just affect the United States. It affects the entire world, right? You understand this treasure chest of secrecy that they are tapping into, that they are um, getting into in terms of revealing all that's there, or all, at least most of the information. We have to all understand, and we know that on the part of any government, there's going to be some effort to maintain secrecy in areas where perhaps it should be needed, like um, you know, some military things that are active and dealing with current events, right? Things of that nature. But when we're talking about something like the Kennedy assassination, the King assassination, that happened decades ago, and there's no reason whatsoever that information should continue to be kept from the American public. And those things are starting to come out. Many would argue that the information on UFO, UAP should never have been kept from the American public, and I agree with that. At least most of that information should not have been. There may be some quote unquote sensitive things that you would have to be wise and cautious about releasing. A big part of all this is well, I'll save that for the other part. The other new huge change is, or the big thing that we're seeing pick up great momentum, is the Disclosure Project, folks. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, being spearheaded by Dr. Stephen Greer. The Disclosure Project is vastly ramping up, and all these things are sort of happening in alignment, right? And with the Disclosure Project, you will be delving much, much deeper into the subject of UFO, UAP, and USO, right? You will be delving specifically into information regarding crash retrieval programs. There will be in-depth information revealed to you by you, I mean the public, the masses, regarding the misappropriation of funds, of taxpayer money, right? Going to fund, quite frankly, illegal, quote unquote, shadow government programs. And these price tags, folks, are literally in the trillions. Did you hear what I said? Not the billions, but in the trillions. Through the years, the money directly from the taxpayers that has been improperly utilized for these non-sanctioned and quite literally illegal programs that have been happening right under our noses, right? And the more that comes out about these crash retrieval programs, which are up under that umbrella, then subsequently the more about these quote unquote shadow governments is going to come out, right? Folks, these shadow governments exist not only in the United States, but in most major governments, right? Forming a global cabal, right? These are globalists that have plans that stretch out decades and centuries and have been implementing that for quite some time, right? Michael Washington, thank you for coming in. Alicia, thank you for coming in, cuz, man, we are talking right now, familiarizing everybody with the two major subjects that we're covering. Number one, the new United States Congressional Task Force and Committee on Ending Secrecy to the American Public, as well as the incredible progress being made specifically for this year, and great advancements scheduled for later this year in the Disclosure Project, right? Spearheaded by Dr. Stephen Greer. The Congressional Task Force is on ending secrecy to the American public, right? The It's going to be talking and dealing with some of the issues that have seen recent executive order declassify some massively important documents dealing with the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., President Kennedy, files on the UFO, UAP subject, USO as well, files on 9/11. I was neglectful in mentioning that, right? I mean, this stuff is huge, folks. This task force is going to be taking on issues that that, quite frankly, there are some people in high places don't want touched upon, but it's time, right? 2025 is that year, right? It's going down, so to speak, this year, folks. So yeah, there's going to be some powerful feathers ruffled, right? But that is the nature of what we have happening in 2025. Now, that's the congressional committee going to be dealing with all that and even more than I stated. Once again, to get specific information on what they will be covering, just go to my channel, right? And you'll see the section labeled posts. Right in there, I have the actual video of these folks talking. I believe it's the main person on the microphone is Senator Luna, and she's talking in great detail about exactly what they will be covering, right? Maybe not in great detail because they're of course, at the beginning of this endeavor, but she's talking in detail about exactly what they're going to be covering. And folks, each aspect or facet of what they're going to be covering is like a bombshell, right? I mean, how long have we been waiting to learn the truth of what has happened in President Kennedy's assassination? How long have we been waiting to learn the truth of what has been happening or what happened in the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? How long have we been wanting to learn the truth of what is going on with the subject of UFO, UAP, and USO, and what does our United States government know about it that has not been shared with the public? 9/11, right? I think they're going to also be talking about the Oklahoma City bombing. They're open. When you talk about opening up a can, the can of worms, or maybe even greater than that, opening Pandora's box, however you want to look at it or phrase it, they are going into all or most of the major secrets that have been kept within the United States from the public. So that task force is major, and whatever they reveal and the things that they're going to be revealing in the upcoming months is major, and I'm certainly excited about it. And I don't know which way you guys feel about that, but it's exciting either way you feel about it, whether you want to see it happening or not. It is happening, right? So the question, and I guess the conversation for us, is how do we deal with it, and what do we think about these things coming out, right? How do we deal with and process for ourselves and our families the changes to our reality, right? The very fabric of our existence here on this planet, and indeed in this galaxy, because we have to expand things, right? The other part of the subject matter dealing with the Disclosure Project with Dr. Stephen Greer. Folks, first of all, Dr. Stephen Greer, in my personal opinion, is a great source of information on the UFO, UAP, USO also subject, and has been for close to 30 years now. I personally have been following his work for well over 25 years, right? So I can tell you with him and many other very more than legitimate, I would say vital providers of work in that field, right? Actually applying scientific study, fact, weeding through the facts, getting away from all the BS, so to speak, right? We know often in that subject, there's a lot of purposeful misinformation that is decimated to people or given out to the masses. And Dr. Greer does a great job in separating that chaff, so to speak. And he really goes a long way, him and his team go a long way in providing us an incredibly comprehensive look at that subject and what's going on with it. And most importantly, the disclosure that is happening. Folks, in that arena, I don't know if you know, but there are United States Air Force pilots, right? Including pilots in other branches of the military, like the Army. But there are military pilots. There are private commercial pilots, right? Well, I should say private and commercial pilots who have come forth. And we're talking about not crackpots or they're crazy. We're talking about men and women who have logged, in most cases, thousands of flight hours, right? People who have been trusted with the lives and well-beings of hundreds, if not thousands, of people in their service or in their work, right? So we're not talking about people whose testimony should be whimsically thrown away. It should be considered as viable and verifiable, especially when we look at the fact that there is instrumentation information that has been recorded that corroborates much of what they say, if not all of it. And there's a mountain, folks, of physical evidence that simply needed the scientific process to be applied to it. And certainly Dr. Greer and his team, and like I said, many others, but definitely Dr. Greer and his team have been vital in doing so, right? Cataloging testimony of whistleblowers, folks who are actually inside the government in these programs, right? Many of these people have gotten into these programs not knowing that they were illegal and not sanctioned by the government, not knowing that they were engaging in illegal activities and covert activities that they may have signed a non-disclosure agreement about, but that agreement is actually not valid because what they're doing is working for a group or a program that in itself is illegal, right? So that is starting to be understood, and we're seeing a flood of official whistleblowers come out. Folks, for anybody who has not been able to settle down and nestle into the reality of this subject, this year is going to be a mind blower for you, because there's no question anymore. We're way out of the phase of, are UFOs real, or is there life outside the planet? Or if those are rudimentary questions that have been answered. Okay. Right now we're at the point where there is a mountain of evidence, of testimony, of facts, of instrument readings, of recordings, of data that has to be combed through. That, again, fortunately, Dr. Greer and his disclosure project and his team have combed through that, right? And there are many others who've done painstaking work in that. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the years of painstaking work that Dr. Delbert Blair launched into this this subject matter and has gathered through the years. No longer with us, the great Dr. Delbert Blair, but still a wealth of information he's provided for us since the 70s. Okay, so yeah, we need to take that seriously. Others who have given us some utterly invaluable, I mean, it's just priceless information, like Credu Mutwa, who also is no longer with us, Zulu spiritual leader. But take a look, folks, at the um, interview that he did with what's the guy? Everybody makes fun of him, but he really is pretty thorough. David Icke, right? Not just everybody makes fun of him. Actually, thousands of people gather to hear what he has to say because he's been proven to be very much on top of this thing, and has been vindicated in that way from times when he was balked at, pretty much solely, and now he can fill up an arena, right? So check out his interview of Credu Mutwa. Goes for something like 3+ hours. I mean, just mind blowing, the kind of stuff once you really process it. Man. So, with all that stuff on the table, folks, you've heard me talking about this. You now know about the congressional task force, about the disclosure project, about what this means and how this impacts our existence on this planet, folks. This is reality altering information, right? But this is where we're at in 2025. And it's up to us to step up to the plate as spiritually mature adults and individuals who are responsible for our lives and the lives of our families to deal with this stuff rather than stick our head in the sand and act like it's not going on, right? Okay. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. I got to open it up to the chat and let's start talking back and forth a little bit about this incredible series of events and subject matter and the changes that are on the horizon now. All right, so Sean, I hope you're still in here with us. Please let me know what comment and or question you have about the subject matter. God Science, I hope you're still in with us. Please chime in and let us know what comment and or question you have. Michael Washington, man, welcome to the forum. Thank you so much. Just met this brother, and he stayed, true to his not just his word, but said he'd do it, and he did it, and he's in here with us, and I appreciate you, man. Much love, truly. Thank you. Cuz Alicia, thank you, baby. I appreciate you so much, and we love to have your input in this forum. You know that. God Science says, yes, he is. Okay, that's an older comment, and it's probably talking about Dr. Stephen Greer, I believe that's who he's referring to. If not, he may be referring to how President Trump is really shaking things up with some of the executive things he's doing. Again, folks, we are a non-partisan channel, right? I am not taking the sides of Republican, Democrat, or any political party. What we are doing is talking about the things they do that affect us because that's our business. All right. Brown Betty watches. Hey, listen, thank you. I forget who that is. Heather is in with us. Oh, Heather, thank you so much, my dear friend. Just to recap real quick, folks, because I want to get more of y'all's comments and questions about this subject. We got a ton to talk about. So we're again discussing the congressional task force on ending secrecy to the American public, covering such things as the assassination of President Kennedy, the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the UFO, UAP, and USO subject matter, 9/11, Oklahoma City bombing, all sorts of things, excuse me, that they're going to be talking about that a lot of folks in some high places don't want talked about, but this is that year and this is that time, and we fitting to do it. True indeed. Candy, what's up, cuz? Welcome to the forum. My cousin Candy chiming in. Welcome, cuz. Thank you. But yeah, that's the one thing, the congressional task force, and also the disclosure project headed up by Dr. Stephen Greer, revealing some great things and a lot more on the agenda. By the way, Dr. Greer has on his site, I believe, the actual briefing that he has made available and sent to government officials. He is also making that available to the general public. So I'm telling you, folks, get with this information. It will blow your mind, right? The disclosure project disclosing information specifically on UFO, UAP, USO, and diving much deeper into the quote unquote shadow governments that have allocated so many trillions. We're talking about like hundreds of trillions of dollars over the years of the taxpayers' money toward these efforts, right? All right, folks, I'm jumping back in the chat. Alicia comes in and says, strongly disagree with much of what's going on in the U.S. right now, but I do know that you sometimes have to eat the crust first to get to the good part of the pie. True indeed. I do agree with unlocking truth. Right. Dig that. Dig that. Cousin Candy, Brown Betty watches, says, I want to know more about 9/11, but I don't trump with it. Listen, folks, I feel you and I understand there's a lot of dislike for President Trump. I'm not here to sway your mind one way or the other politically. This is a non-partisan channel, okay? But I will say, me personally, I wouldn't care who's in office right now as long as this stuff is coming out. And I think that's what we've got to focus on, is that this stuff is coming out. I'm excited at some of the changes I'm seeing in Congress with some of these new young senators who have the spirit in them to want to end this incredibly thick layer of secrecy between the United States government and the United States people. It's just got to end. We need to have input on these things because they affect our everyday lives, right? Every single institution that touches our everyday lives is impacted by that. And we need to be abreast of it and able to have our own input on it. Okay, it says trust Trump. Okay. Oh, so Candy was saying Trump with it. Okay, so I guess she, you know what I mean? That's cool. Again, I don't care who's bringing it out. We got to talk about this stuff, folks. Even these subjects are so profound and massive in their level of importance that even if we were talking about just one of these issues, right? Even if we were just talking about the assassination of President Kennedy, and to find out the things that we're about to find out, which I already, heads up, know a lot of this stuff that they're about to disclose. But I'm going to sit back and wait for it to come out and then give my reactions and take everybody else's reactions and we can talk about it, right? But the profundity of it, right? How profound this subject of a United States president being assassinated, and that what was revealed to the United States public, supposedly by governmental fact finders, right, and investigators, is all being called into question, which means that we may have been severely lied to and misled by our own government involving the assassination of one of the presidents we elected. And by the way, one of the most popular presidents of all time. So just that one nugget is immense, right? Not to mention the assassination of Dr. King. You don't get any bigger, right? This man, many people may not realize that Dr. King was not just one of the absolute largest figures in the United States, folks, but worldwide. This man was revered worldwide like Gandhi, huh? And for good reason. And for him to have been snuffed out, that's not a, I don't think that's even a, I say snuffed out because I consider him to be a brilliant flame that was illuminating us all. But for him to be assassinated and for us to have likely been lied to about that as well is just as profound and earth shattering, right? You know, that's before you even get into the UFO, UAP subject matter and start talking about 9/11. I mean, how many lives has that touched, really? How many people have been deeply impacted by that, right? We deserve to know the truth. We're not children. We're mature enough. We are sovereign adults where we don't need a parental middleman in the form of the government or any other censoring body to decide what we're ready to handle. Huh? Think about that. All right, folks. Anybody else? Come on, jump back in. This stuff affects all of you, all of us, our children, our grandchildren, our ancestors before. I mean, folks, this affects everyone. For these things to be coming out and drawn into question and for real investigation to be applied, we should be excited just to know that there's so much more we will know than what we knew before, right? And we will have the opportunity to independently research, verify, and check the veracity of all of this information, right? Which is certainly what I'll be doing. And I know many of you will as well. Ma V, so sorry if I did not directly get the invite to you. We're talking about a Bill with Big King superstar, Ma V, Sister Vima, who comes in with great commentary, giving that maternal wisdom, right? Giving us that point of view that she has so generously offered to us many times, and also others who have frequented the podcast last season. My great and dear friend Heather, I hope to hear shortly from Deanne from Connecting the Dots with Deanne. Please check out her channel. Please check out and support her channel. She is fearless in the subject matter that she will approach as well. Folks, that's what we need right now. We need courageous folks who are willing to talk about, research, and delve into subjects that are profoundly affecting our lives to give us an opportunity to have greater input and impact for our own lives, for the lives of our families, our friends and loved ones, all of us going forward. We need and deserve that, right? All right. Anybody else with a comment about what's going on with the this congressional committee on ending secrecy to the United States public, and or the disclosure project headed up by Dr. Stephen Greer? Just to differentiate the two a little bit, folks, the congressional committee is just that. We're talking about your congressmen, both representatives from the House and senators, getting together. And by the way, it is a bipartisan committee. Okay. So this is not something that's just spearheaded by one um, political party or the other. This is a bipartisan effort. But it's aimed at ending secrecy to the American public and is touching on at least those profound issues we've mentioned before. But the difference from that and the Disclosure Project, the Disclosure Project is headed up by Dr. Stephen Greer. And there are other individuals, right, who are lending in their own energy, support, and input into this disclosure and making their own disclosure efforts as well. But the official Disclosure Project headed up by Dr. Stephen Greer is profound and powerful, and is different in this way. It talks also about some of the same subjects that are discussed by the committee or the task force, the congressional task force, but delves probably a little bit more into, or with a little bit more focus on the UFO, UAP, USO subject matter, but also more specifically and comprehensively into the matter of the shadow governments that have been usurping immense amounts of taxpayer dollars. We're talking about to the tune of hundreds of trillions of dollars of your money that could have went toward taking care of your family, providing a future for your children and grandchildren, right? Taken away illegally and grossly for decades, if not centuries. Folks, we can't afford to ignore that one, right? And be prepared to show our not only our interest and support, but our will that there be responsibility taken, right? Toward those who have done this illegally. We can't skirt around that. This is an illegal venture. And Dr. Greer does a great job of going into detailing all that. So those are the two things that we're discussing that are major and signal major changes on the horizon. Anybody else with any comment about those? You don't have to, like if you just have a comment, you want to make your comment and jump out, that's cool. There's never any judgment, folks, by the way, for whatever you say in the chat. We're talking to each other. This is a forum where we just let it fly, and we do so supporting each other's differences of opinions and realizing that there will be a great sort of smorgasbord of opinions. And great, we want that. We need that so that we can have a very diversified perspective on how we need to approach change moving forward, right? All right. Come on, folks. I know somebody's thinking something about it, or if you have a question regarding these two things, please ask that question. I will do my best to answer it. And also the folks in the chat are open to doing so as well. Carrie Irvin, welcome. Thank you, my dear friend, for chiming in and checking us out as we're talking about, again, the Congressional Task Force on Ending Secrecy to the American Public and the Disclosure Project being headed up by Dr. Stephen Greer on USO, UFO, UAP, and also specifically the shadow governments that are responsible for illegally allocating so much of our money throughout the years, taxpayer dollars to the tune of trillions, actually likely hundreds of trillions of dollars, right? Major. So, yeah, anybody who has a question regarding that or comment, you just want to say something about it. You got something you want to get on off of your chest real quick about it. Go ahead and throw it in real quick in the chat, and I'll be sure to jump right to it. And let's keep this thing going because, again, folks, this is profound. There is no one in the United States and, quite frankly, the world that this does not impact in some way, right? These are earth-shattering, like boulder-sized issues that are being addressed and things that are being revealed for the first time to the American people, excuse me, and indeed to the world. So it is just literally that profound. Pardon me. So again, folks, we are discussing the impact and the implications of this new the bipartisan congressional task force on ending secrecy to the American public, covering such issues as the assassination of President Kennedy, the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., USO, UAP, UFO, all of those, 9/11, many other domestic happenings like the Oklahoma City bombing. Pardon me. And they will be working diligently and producing substantial information for the public, that has not previously been revealed, right? And the other thing is the disclosure project that is being head up by Dr. Stephen Greer. And he goes very deep and detailed. And by the way, folks, he's brief in the process of briefing certain entities in our government about this subject, right? And that brief is made available to all of the public. Just go to, I'm not sure if it's drstephengreer.com. Pardon me, but excuse me, if you Google him or otherwise search for him, Dr. Stephen Greer, Greer, you will see his content. And certainly if you just check on my channel, there's information about him as well in that post section. Okay. Heather asks or makes the comment. Let's see here. She says, yes, very exciting. Something we all have deserved to be privy to. You are most certainly right, Heather. Like, this is stuff that we should have known decades ago about. And in some instances, over a century or two about, we should have known about. So this stuff is incredibly profound, and much of it, much of it really should never have been kept from us in the first place. That is a really interesting sort of aspect or rope to hang on to as you slide down the rabbit hole. Like, why was this stuff kept so deeply secret from us in the first place? And folks, I also would be remiss if I did not mention that for many of these secrets, the government has gone to, or at least is alleged that the government has gone to, extreme measures at keeping these secrets, and up to and including imprisoning and taking the lives of individuals, right? Allegedly. That's deep. That's deep. We can't just stick our heads in the sand about that and ignore it. That is, first of all, those people deserve justice, right? Them and their families. We're talking about people who were murdered, disgraced, um, you know, imprisoned. All sorts of different tactics have been used to try and keep these secrets in place. Heather comes back in and says, even a bigger comment is none of it should ever should have ever happened in the first place, which is true. It simply should not have, folks. None of this stuff is in the vision of the forefathers of this country, those who were here before they got there. It's not in their vision either, obviously. The indigenous of these lands, who should always be remembered and respected. None of, this is not what any of us would have wanted or envisioned, right? This is the implementation of the vision of the socially economic elite, what many refer to as the secret societies or the global cabal, right? However you want to phrase it or label it, this is their doing. This is part of their grand agenda. You see their handiwork and their imprint in the United Nations, even. I'll mention once again, very profoundly, the speech given by Muammar Gaddafi in the United Nations. I recommend everybody find that and watch the speech in its entirety. That itself will blow your mind, right? This man was disparaged horribly by the United States and lied about by the United States and made out to be some sort of a villain when this man was a hero to his people and much of the world, right? And really, if not so vehemently blocked from what he was trying to do, a hero to all of the world. So just throwing that out there, that's how they operate, right? So when you see somebody come under fire, pause a second and ask yourself, is this person really that bad of a person? Or is this perhaps an agenda being executed against this person because they were going to reveal something important to us? These days, you must ask that question if you expect to have a realistic perspective or point of view on exactly what's happening on the planet and a realistic opportunity to impact that for yourself and your family going forward. Alicia comes in. First of all, let me go back. Heather had another comment. Yes, all of their families deserve the respect and honor with the truth to be spoken. You are right, Heather. They do. They have that coming. We all have that coming. Alicia comes back in and says, this unveiling of truth may be a dig to end free journalism as we know it, which is disturbing. Honestly, what I have found disturbed, you're right that we should be concerned, first of all, Alicia, about free journalism, right? Very right, and that's a big concern. I will add and state that if we pay attention to what exactly the United States and several other powerful countries in the world, like Canada, Australia, France, the UK, have recently been doing along the lines of censorship, right? That is probably the largest current threat to free journalism and us having access to information. Folks, we don't need a filter. We don't. What we need is facts, right? We need raw information and the ability and the allowing of us as responsible adults, right? We're simply not children anymore. So we should be allowed to research and find these things out for ourselves, to vet this information ourselves, so to speak, so that we have our own truth and formulate our own opinions from our own perspectives, not what is force fed to us right, by some governmental agency or agents, right? Um, and I think that their vehement approach to censorship as of late shows evidence of the old paradigm crumbling and the secrets that really should never have been imposed upon us in the first place, right? Being unveiled. So we do need to be careful with the unveiling of truth, in that there is always a misinformation program that is implemented by those who would want to break down or try and eliminate real, responsible, and serious efforts to bring facts and truth to the people, not just in the United States, but worldwide, right? Um, so we really need to be focusing on the fact that if we got them so nervous that they feel so vehemently on approaching all of this censorship, then obviously we're touching on some sensitive areas, or we touch the nerve, so to speak, right? And we're uncovering truths that may potentially lead lead us onto a beautiful road of new freedoms and a surety of ability of us to impact the future for ourselves and our families. All right, so anybody else have a comment or question about this oh so important and powerful subject matter? Either one, folks. Comment, question, share a little bit of your perspective. I'd like it if you just pop in and say hi, so that we have further affirmation. Alchemical Talks, I see you on there. Thank you for checking me out, family. Just give a few shouts out again. I'm gonna just shout everybody out real quick who I see in the chat. Again, Alicia Frederick, Heather Tokas, Brown Betty Watches, Cousin Candy, Sister Carrie Irvin. Thank you so much. I'm going up the chat, back up here. Michael Washington again, man. Thank you so much for showing such immediate support with no hesitation. Thank you, family. God Science, Brother Sean Anchor, and there's been some other folks who've chimed in as well. Thank you all. I love and appreciate you all. Again, this is just an exciting and incredibly exciting subject matter for me, because for one, they're setting the table for me. They have just laid out a year's worth, at least, of subject matter for future podcasts, right? So podcast episodes. So like I've got plenty I can research and break down just from these two major things that I can talk about. As well as I will continue to receive input from you all, things and subjects that you'd like to discuss in this forum. I want that to be, in fact, a greater part of the forum as we discuss more and more of what people have communicated to me that you want to talk about, right? All right. So I'm jumping back in the chat one more time just to double check and see if anybody else has anything else. Heather comes in and says, thank you for doing all the work that you do. Thank you, Heather, for being such a tremendous friend and such a great friend also to the podcast and checking us out. I appreciate that tremendously. Thank you. Heather goes on and says, haha, yep, we will talk into eternity. You ain't never lied. We got a lot to talk about, man. We're going to continue busting this up, folks, week after week after week for at least 21 weeks, to echo what we did in last year's podcast season. Brother Sean Johnson, Worldwide Movement, peace, love, respect, my man. One of my best friends, y'all chiming in. Thank you, brother. just to rehash real quick, we're talking and have been talking for a while now about number one, this new bipartisan congressional task force on ending secrecy to the American public, addressing such issues as the assassination of President Kennedy, the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the UFO, UAP subject matter, along with USO, unidentified submersible objects that go in and out of water. 9/11, the bombings in Oklahoma City, other domestic events. I mean, folks, they're opening up that box big time. So we got that, and also the other part of it, the conversation is the Disclosure Project, headed up by Dr. Stephen Greer, doing major things in that area of disclosure on the subject of UFO, UAP, USO, and also equally important, specifically to us here in the U.S., and really this similar thing has happened throughout the world, so it is equally important to everyone. Talking about these shadow governments that have been usurping taxpayer money to the tune of hundreds of trillions of dollars, right, through the decades and in fact centuries, to at least decades, depending on what aspect of this you're talking about, to run these shadow programs like crash retrieval programs, right, where they have retrieved many vehicles, right? Many quote unquote extraterrestrial or unidentified vehicle. They have executed these crash retrieval programs, and there is a mountain of information and evidence relating to that and other aspects of that subject matter that Dr. Greer goes into. And once again, folks, this is a guy who I myself have followed his work for well over 25 years, and he's put well over 30 years into it. I recommend his work along with the work of Dr. Delbert Blair, the late, great Dr. Delbert Blair. Please look up his wealth of information given to us ever since the 70s, right? He's since moved on, but left us an incredible legacy. Same thing can be said for Credo Mutwa, the Zulu spiritual leader, and the incredible information he's given us. Much of it through that very intense and detailed interview, I believe well over 3 hours, given and done, executed very well by David Icke, right? So, folks, magnificent. God Science, getting back to you, he says, Dr. Stephen Greer, been following him and his work from Alive. Okay, I think that's a mistype there, so excuse me if I misstated your comment, bro. And the great Dr. Blair, you're familiar with him as well. For a while, I feel you, bro. I feel you. I figured that's actually what you were saying because I know you down. This brother, thank you very much. He's been supporting the podcast as well for quite a while, brother. God Science 7. And you know, you just know when somebody's in the know. And I appreciate the brother tremendously. Do you watch David Wilcock? I am also familiar with David Wilcock, another individual whose great work you should check out. Folks, there's folks with some very powerful work out there. Dr. Joe Dispenza, man, check out his stuff if you are awakening and on your ascension path and want some science to back up esoterically what you may be going through. Check out Dr. Dispenza. right? And there are many others as well. Um, uh, uh, Greg Greg Brayton, I believe is his name, has some great work. I mean, there's a lot of folks out there with some really great work. And see, I can recommend it all because unlike the government, I look at you as adults and know that you have the ability to look at this information, do your own free thinking research, even if it's just a little bit, right? Google a couple of things to verify. Um, and you can break down this information for yourselves and responsibly decide how you want to apply it in your own life for you and your family. That decision shouldn't be taken away from you by the government or anyone else. You are sovereign and free. You are adults who are fully capable, right, of processing not only this information and researching it, but deciding what you want to do with it and how you want to act on it. Definitely capable of that. Heather Toka says, again, do you watch the, okay, and yes, she does watch David Wilcock. So shout out to him too, right? Um, um, there's just a lot of folks out there, right? For anybody on their ascension path and really wanting some wisdom aiding you further forward, I also recommend Erin Lyons. Man, she is powerful and is incredibly well spoken, and eloquent in the way that she gets her information over and makes it easy for us to all understand and follow along, and gives you that room that you can research it yourself and affirm what she's saying. So I definitely recommend Erin Lyons. She is sharp, and I'm talking about up here and in here, right? And you see the beauty of that radiate out through her. She has some incredible information, folks. I'm telling you, check out Erin Lyons. All right, Sean Johnson, are we really sovereign, or will that happen when the republic is brought back? Me personally, bro, I know what you're looking for, because we all need to do work in our sovereignty and making that something that we are enforcing and implementing in our everyday lives and in relationship with this, quite frankly, foreign government, this corporate entity that is calling itself the United States government. But that's a whole nother subject, man. That I would, hey, go to Brother Johnson. I know just from speaking to him, has a wealth of information on the subject. Um, Truly, man, I don't know what your interest might be, but you could yourself start a channel and just start really exercising or getting out to the people in your own way information that you have on sovereignty and how they can progress along those lines. I agree with the importance of that wholeheartedly. Um, and I look at it as something that's another one of the milestones along the way that we about to really pour our energy into in 2025 and forward, right? So yes, we will all be sovereign. We have a lot of work to do, um, some of which piecemeal, right? In steps and stages that we have to do. But we all need to do it, and we need to be doing it now. So yeah. But yeah, man, we're seeing change in not only this country, but the world right now that is so profound. We don't actually, I don't think most of us are actually cognizing it, but our children and our children's children and even their children will be talking about these times, right? As these years from 2012 to now and up and through 2030, as the years where humanity really made a change and took that massive step forward out of what we can refer to as the barbaric ages of the old paradigm into the enlightened ages of our new paradigm, one I like to call, one I like to refer to as peace, love, respect, right? So, man, we are positioning ourselves magnificently to surge powerfully forward in establishing our new paradigm on this planet and everything and all of the implications of that, right? Everything that it touches. It is our place to do so. It is our responsibility to do so to ourselves, our family, and our descendants, right? Going forward, who are relying on us to put in this work now. Well, good thing is we doing it. True that, and we're gonna keep on doing it, and we're gonna keep building up steam more and more as the year progresses, as this movement progresses, as we cement down the foundation for the worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. We're going to make it happen. Huh? We're going to make it happen. We're making it happen right now. And today was a magnificent start. Thank you all, truly. I mean that with all of my heart. I know rhyme had to come in there, you know, being the MC that I am, it just naturally happens. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Anybody else with any comments, questions, statements regarding today's subject matter? As collectively we surge powerfully forward to the end of this podcast and into future podcasts and future efforts for us to establish this new high vibrational frequency paradigm of peace, love, respect. Any other comments, statements, or questions? Anybody. I'm going to leave a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes for that to happen before we sign out. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. In fact, while I'm doing that, might as well go ahead and see if I can play a little something for y'all. Indeed. All right. And of course, I'm rolling off of my album, PLR New Paradigm. If you Google me, Big King S.2, or if you go to my YouTube channel, you will see my musical album titled PLR New Paradigm, right? And I just made an appointment today to get back in the studio because the second album is on the way, folks. Please look forward to that as that's coming. True indeed. True indeed. All right. What I'm going to do now, real quick, is go on and play something that is appropriate. This song is called Concentrated Thought Change by Big King S.2. I hope y'all can hear that. It's time to change this shit. We exposing all the Okay, Brown Betty watches. That's my cousin Candy. She said, "Love you, keep it up." Thank you, cuz. I love you and appreciate you tremendously. I will keep it up. Cuz Alicia comes in and says, "Congratulations on the studio time." Thank you. Thank you, cuz. We about to set it. You know I'm about to holler at you about the collaboration. Man, this album is going to be off the man. This new album, I'm telling y'all. Huh? I'm telling you. Check out this new album. Check out the first album, but this new album is going to be crazy. Brother Sean says the universe and Mother Earth is changing our DNA. Just look at the spike in our shoe resonance. I know he means the Schumann resonance. True indeed. And that she tell all. Let's see. True indeed. That should be an alarm for us all, brother. Thank you. You're absolutely right. Everybody, you can independently check into the Schumann resonance and its fluctuations, spikes and valleys as we ascend the higher vibrational frequency. Folks, the very planet is in a higher vibrational frequency state. Come on. Wish I could say they care about politicians rotten. They not. Well, you're seeing a new generation of politicians starting to form. We just in baby steps. It's starting, right? It's starting. We know there's still a whole lot of Washington we got to get out. And we're going to change Washington. We're going to change the world, baby. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. This is it. Change is here right now. All right, it looks like that's it. I love you all. I thank you all tremendously. This has been yet another successful episode of Building with Big King. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. I thank you all about tremendously. And I tell you, we're going to continue building and building and building the foundation of this new world paradigm. Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq, out.